So we're jumping from the tactical, we're jumping from the narrative for a moment and looking at the hobby. This was a question that I was asked just out of curiosity. Fritz, boxes, these board games, these miniature games, what do you do with the boxes? Do you keep your stuff in the boxes? And at first I thought this was a really interesting question because from my perspective, it depends on not only how you approach your gaming system, and we're going to look at board games and we're going to look at miniature war games. RPGs are a little bit different because it could be hybrid. You could go old school and just have books, or you can feed that beast and have a lot of different things where you're playing with miniatures and other effects like that. But keeping the boxes that they come in or utilizing something else. Now, for Warhammer 40,000, for X-Wing miniatures, I have the miniatures, and they are in gaming cases, either foam-lined cases or Plano boxes for my X-Wing ships. I've never kept any of the boxes. A miniatures game like Games Workshop, I don't think the boxes really are for collectible purposes or even storing purposes. So it's not like my pack of Space Marines, the box I can store them in. It's very much a way to look attractive on the shelf, look really cool painted, get you pumped, buy it, paint it, put it in your box. Same thing with X-Wing miniatures. The miniatures are just there to make sure that they don't fall out. The components are all there. You buy them, you open them up, you play them. So from that perspective, those miniature games get stored in their own case. The only box that I have right now, if I think about it, is a Razorback because it's unopened and I haven't opened it. And I have so many Razorbacks, I'm probably not going to open it up at this point. And X-Wing miniatures, I don't have any of the boxes. Now, God Tier is a different story. This is an example of a miniature-based skirmish game. Fantastic game. Been pushing up a lot of Tactica to my playlist, God Tier, here on the channel. It's really captured my imagination. It's a warband skirmish game. So we've got 2 starter sets, which are about the size of a standard board game box. They've got the maps, the tokens, the dice, and 2 warbands. And then you buy additional warbands. They come in a kind of a shoebox size, maybe a little bit smaller box with the members, the champion, the banner, and a couple of cards. And they're spaced out. They're very, very attractive with how they look. They have inserts that are plastic molded. Now, these are unpainted miniatures. You can play them unpainted. Some people paint them. I've actually kept all the boxes for God Tier. I certainly could take them out and just have the inserts and make that part of a bigger gaming case. I could save a lot of space. When I go play God Tier, it's like this massive box because it holds all my stuff. But the boxes themselves are a work of art. They've got some great art, vibrant colors. You can see the different warbands. When we play, I'll put out all the warbands. I mean, it organizes it great. Keeps everything in there. Pop the top off, pop the miniatures out. So from that perspective, playing God Tier, I have all the boxes, and I intend to keep all the boxes. We look at Pacific Rim. Now, Pacific Rim was kind of interesting. This is a miniature-based war game, Pacific Rim Extinction, based off the movies. You've got some heroic size scale miniatures, Jaegers and Kaiju to fight. I've taken them out of the box. I just have the mechs and the monsters to fight. Even the core box with the measurement stick and the dice and the maps and the terrain. This is all in an real old school Army transport foam case from back in the day. The boxes themselves, I didn't keep. At first I was going to keep them, but they have a lot of void space in them. And the artwork it's there, the logo, but I didn't feel I needed to keep them in the box. And being a game that the miniatures are already a little bit bigger than normal, it really started to stack up just to bring them. It was much easier to put them in a traditional gaming case and treat it more as a direct war game, even though everything's built and painted and look fantastic. So for that perspective, it's just the miniatures themselves. So let's jump over to the board game side and some considerations there. And then, of course, get that feedback and out of curiosity, see what you guys are doing. Board games are a little bit different. I think they kind of fall into one of 2 categories today, and both have their own challenges. The first is what I call the Gloomhaven category. You've got a massive box of stuff, and maybe it fits in the box, maybe it doesn't, Maybe it needs a little bit of a creative solution to fit in the box. When I go play Gloomy, it's easy to transport, or as easy it's going to be. I mean, it's heavy. I kind of have a somewhat custom solution. Most of it fits in the box. Then you have games that have multiple expansions. Dark Souls is a great example. I love Dark Souls, but we've got the core. We've got the adventure add-on. We've got different big bosses. We've got different mega bosses. It's like literally if I stack the boxes up, I'm about 6'2". That's going to be my height or a little bit higher. Now, from a completionist standpoint, I'm like, that's amazing. I want more Dark Souls. I want to have like piles and piles of Dark Souls stuff because I love the game. But when I bring this to play at the club, it's a little bit challenging because I like to bring everything for a board game that I have because you never know what's going to happen. We play some Dark Souls. We fight the first boss, the main boss. We go for the mega boss. And maybe things go really well and we decide, hey, it would be great just to fight another mega boss right now. Well, I didn't bring the mega boss because we decided ahead of time we're going to fight Last Giant or we're going to fight this mega boss. Or having everything there means in the moment if we want to try something new or someone comes into play and they're passionate, they're inspired, they're like, wow, look at that expansion. Well, let's change it in the moment. That's why I like to have everything, but that becomes much harder. So games like that, I find just on the sheer weight of stuff, because I want to keep the boxes, not only for the storage, but for the lore, based on how they look. I put them up on the shelf. I have to make decisions of what I'm going to bring. Now, a couple of games like Runebound, of course, everything fits in one box. That isn't a challenge. So board gaming is different. I want to keep all the expansions in the boxes. I want to segment things out. I think this is especially important, or I should say more important for board games because compared to war games, you have a lot more components. Dice, cards, tokens, miniatures, boards, sideboards. Like, you've got a lot of stuff. So to have it outside of its packing when you need to break stuff up or sort things out, it helps to have the boxes. The one area that I break this rule, but not really break this rule, Talisman. I love Talisman. If you've been following my channel, we look at Talisman Tactics, push that up under the board gaming playlist. Working on a Talisman playlist to kind of pull those out and populate some more in that environment. I have 2 copies of Talisman. Now, is that a little bit excessive? Put that aside for a moment. It's a game that I regularly play, I regularly bring with me, and we regularly use. I don't mind the battleware, but we've got a lot of plays. There's a lot of history out of this. And when I play Talisman, we tend to play all in. Big boxes, small boxes, sideboards, all the characters. So to bring all of those boxes and play all of those boxes when everything's just going to be combined and mixed up anyway. I'm not breaking sets in and out. Everything's combined. It makes sense to have it in a central aspect. So I have 3 of the big boxes that I've condensed everything down into and reasonable, so I can store it and do it. So from that perspective, I've condensed everything down, but that's a copy that gets played a lot. I also have a second copy because you never know if it will go out of print. Now it's back in print right now, but for a little while it wasn't. I suspect it'll be in print for a long time. It's a very strong title. And I have kept all of the expansions that I could play on my shelf ready to go. So for some reason, when I need to retire my first copy, or if I wanted to utilize that and just pull out one expansion, I have all the boxes. I've kept all the boxes. They're in all the boxes. But that's a very, very, very unique scenario. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys. An interesting hobby question, one that this vlog is showing up in some people's feeds, and they're like, well, I don't really know about this box or board game thing. This is kind of a weird topic to be talking about. I mean, boxes, you buy something in a box and you recycle it, where board gamers are like, no, you never do that. We got to have every box, or maybe not. But out of curiosity, your approach to the hobby, do you keep the boxes? Do you use the boxes? Do you condense everything in, but put the boxes in your gaming closet so it can come and utilize at some point? A lot of different and interesting ways to handle this.